So when we talk about this difference, which Muslims are claiming that they're identical? They're almost identical in the text in meaning, of course. I mean, you can generalize difference. We say this is how they're preserved. So how can I mention in my discussion the phrase identical? I've always used the phrase preserved, even to this meticulous level of detail of da'fin and du'fin. I even encourage them to buy the book by Yasir Qadi, Introduction to the Sciences of the Quran, and look what he says here in his first edition of the book in page 198, Introduction to the Sciences of the Quran. Actually, there is a third level of narrations known as the Rawi, called a tariq, the path. So you have the qira'ah of Imam Asim, the riwayah of Hafs, and between, after that, his two students, we call tariq. Tariq is like a path. Each rawi has two tariqs. The differences between the turuq, plural of tariq, are negligible for our purposes, concentrating mainly on where to stop, certain variations in the particulars of pronunciation, etc. However, on some occasions there are noticeable differences. For example, compare a Quran printed in Pakistan, Taj Company for example, and one printed in Saudi Arabia or Egypt, and see 3054. The difference in the words da'fin and du'fin are due to the differences in turuq of the qira'ah of Hafs and Asim. Clearly, we have been telling you this in our textbooks on the science of the Quran, in our discussions. So why come with this low-level deceptions and saying, you know what, you claim there is not a dot change? No, I said they're preserved even to that. Yep. Whether it's a vowel or a consonant, they're preserved. That's what we're talking about, the level of preservation to the detail. So now that we have explained to our Muslim and non-Muslim audience what level of preservation we're talking about between the Hafs readings, and as we have learned, is exactly, as we can see, apart from this nuances in vocalization, the same and same in the meaning. So that debunks and refutes the Christian or the critics of Islam in the claims they're making. There are hundreds, or I don't know what numbers they're giving, right? Differences. So if anyone who's listening, go and challenge them. Don't be excited. This is my advice to my Muslim brothers and sisters particularly. Don't be excited by people saying, oh, now look, there's 7 Qur'ans in Hafs and they're different in this particular chapter alone. What are the level of differences? Recite it. Are there any noticeable differences or not? Don't get excited and saying, oh, now we are doomed and damaged. That they're saying, oh, you're damaged. Damaged? It's the same reading. So this is one advice. Second advice is, try to learn to be critical in analyzing those claims that people are making. Because what we find is they totally edit the videos of their points they're making without our explanation and put it up there like a 3-minute clip, and that's it. The Quran is different. Later on, of course, to be fair, some of them do put up the whole video, but the first video, 3-minute clips, has made this claim. Look, Muslims have failed to provide any substantiation that the Quran reading is the same. When obviously the answers were there within that video that we read exactly identically the same. So the advice to our Muslim brothers and sisters is to be very wary and careful of these low-level polemics that are coming along. And if you're not sure, go and ask a person of knowledge, and they will tell you that this is a laughable attempt of showing the Qur'ans are different. I mean, this demonstrates and establishes what Allah has already said in the Quran. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. That Allah has revealed this Quran and will protect it. This protection even is to the levels of this degree of preservation. That's what we're talking about. So now, if you don't mind, my brother, I want to show some examples from there, which incidentally, even before the debates that I had with the critics of Islam in the park, have used this chart before. Months before, with our friend Ustad Adnan Rashid, where we went through the Hafs Isnad from the time of the Prophet ﷺ till today, showing how the Quran is so mutawatir in this Hafs reading that it's an absolute evidence of preservation. And I also showed this chart, روض الباسم في طرق حفص عاصم, where the transmission of even the reading of Hafs, the level of preservation to the degree of the examples I've given. Okay, so for those who didn't know and haven't have understood the subject, as we talked about, so you had the qira'at of Asim. From him, two major students, Hafs and Shu'bah. From Hafs, he had also this turuq. There are four main turuqs. Turuq of Al-Hashimi, turuq of Al-Fil, Al-Zar'an.
Hashimi, you said Hashimi?
Yeah. So Al-Fil, Al-Zar'an, Al-Hashimi, and Abu Tahir. And Abu Tahir, of course. Of course you know, my brother, already. Now, these colors differentiate. Look, the red ones here are Turuq al-Fil, Tariq al-Fil. The green one is a Tariq of Al-Hashimi. And Abu Tahir is this blue color. Okay? And when, sorry, Abu Tahir is this, what color is this? Not blue? Yellowish color? Yeah?
Abi Tahir.
Yeah.
The yellow one is
Yellow is Abu Tahir. Okay? So, Fil, Al-Fil here, Zar'an in the blue, green is Al-Hashimi, and this one Abu Tahir. Now, what are the level of differences and degree of differences? Of course, none of them are to do with a different chapter or a different surah or a different word altogether. Look, al-usul, madd al-munfasil and madd al-muttasil, ghunna fil lam al-ra, and the sakt al-sakin qabla al-hamza. And he explains here the mad and sakin qabla al-hamza. So there are permissible differences. You know the ghunna, I mean, this is going to be now a short introduction to the lessons of tajweed, the science of recitation of the Quran in the reading of Hafs. When we have this idgham, the letters that denote the idgham are yarmalun. Yeah. So you have lam and ra. When they come in recitation, we don't make any ghunna. And the others we do. Yamnu, we do when you read them. But we had in one of these transmission, some scholars transmitted, some shuyukh, that yes, if for example, you have the words, when the word like Qur'an or man amana, when they are separated, okay, this is the sakin qabla al-hamza. No. The example I was giving is about the idgham, right? So when you say fa'in lam taf'alu, even the word is fa'in lam taf'alu. When we recite, we say fa'in lam, not fa'in lam. We say fa'in lam. This is the way we recite. Sometimes there are other places where you can recite fa'in lam yastajibu. Here, this is all in an assimilated form of written form, fa'in lam. In this example of fa'in lam, for example, the scholars are saying you don't do this ghunna, but in other cases, fa'in lam, you can do certain element of ghunna. But the majority opinion from the transmission is you don't do this ghunna when it comes to the lam and ra in this example. But elsewhere, that's the example. So we're talking about the issues of mad. My brother, what is mad briefly?
Yeah, mad is the elongation of a word or a letter.
Yeah, so you have mad which is munfasil and mad which is muttasil.
Yeah.
Any examples that you can give just roughly?
Yeah, so al-mad al-munfasil is a mad between two words. So for example, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, La uqsimu bi yawmi al-qiyamah. So that La uqsimu, you can recite it just La uqsimu. But it depends which tariq you want to recite.
Yeah, so you can recite La uqsimu with 2 haraka, 2 seconds elongation.
Which I just did.
Yep, or 3 seconds or 4 seconds and so on, because they are all transmitted, right? Yeah. They're all transmitted. So you want to say La uqsimu bi yawmi al-qiyamah or La uqsimu with 2. Yeah. That level of preservation and detail we're talking about in the recitation of the Quran. So this is what we're talking about. Now, is this a different word?
No, of course.
It's the same word, same meaning, same text. But the sound, when you articulate how long you make, okay, this is the mad we're talking about. Takbir, when you do takbir, like in the beginning of the surah,
I think it's from Surah Zalzala to the Nas.
Yes, towards the end. Whether you say Allahu Akbar, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wad-duha, or not. Yep. So it's nothing. This is how the tradition is to recite Allahu Akbar and finishing it, okay? None of this. Now all you notice is here some examples where the words yabsutu, basta, the words are the same, but it can be written either with a sin or with a sad. So in our printed form of the Quran, you will see it's written with a sad with a small sin at the top.
Yeah.
And they will say, look, you can recite it with a sin or a sad. Yeah, that's both of the ways are permissible. Demonstrating is even if you read yabsutu with a sin is acceptable. Yabsutu with the sad is acceptable. Yep. Why? Because the word is the same, but it's spelled differently because that's how the Arabs spelled it at that time. But the meaning is the same. Another example is bimusaytir or al-musaytirun. Musaytirun and musaytirun with the sin. Same word. The example that you very nicely recited earlier on, la ta'manna with ishmam. Okay, so you can see here clearly ishmam throughout. Okay, and one example of one turuk, they say you can wajhan, you can read without ishmam. Yeah, so majority of them said okay, ishmam. So the majority opinion you recite with ishmam. Bab al-dhakarain, yeah?
That's
al-dhakarain.
Yeah, so you say قل الذكرين, or you can say قل الذكرين.
Exactly. So the hamza that is after the hamza, the alif, how do you say? Do you make an ibdal there, or you read it in both ways? Okay, right. Same word. Another example, what we call idgham, yalhath dhalik. Now, those brothers and sisters who are interested in the Qur'an, when we talk about the articulation of a letter in the Quran, yalhath, tha and dhal, their place of articulation is very near. Ath and adh, they're very near. So when you make one of those letters as a sakin and then continue the next letter, yalhath dhalik, you can see that they're so close to each other in this form of recitation. Either you recite it with yalhath dhalik, you make total assimilation with idgham, or make an idhar where it says yalhath dhalik. So you pronounce clearly the letter tha and you don't mix it with the letter dhal in recitation, or you hide the letter tha within the letter dhal itself during recitation. But it's the same words, same letter. Okay, this is about idgham, yalhath dhalik. Another example is irkab ma'ana. How do you recite it? Irkam ma'ana, ya bunay.
Yeah, so you say ya bunay irkam ma'ana, or you can say ya bunay irkab ma'ana.
Exactly. So whether you make, because the ba and the mim sound, again the letter of articulation is very similar on the point. So when you make one of them sakin, without any vowels, so you can hide the ba and the mim like irkam ma'ana as you said, or just recite the ba and the mim together. So you can see, you can do idgham or idgham or idhar. Both are acceptable form of recitation. Marqadina, where you make a sakta.
قالوا من بعثنا من مرقدنا. So you say من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن, or you can say من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون.
نعم. So whether you make a sakta, a pause, just a pause, من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. So you either pause it or you just continue. من راق and بل رانا. كلا كلا بل رانا, you can read, or you can say كلا بل رانا.
Correct.
So again, the lam and the ra, when one of them is sakin and another letter next to it is of the same place of articulation, ar and al, very close to the articulation from the, we call it makhraj, the letter of origin, how you originate the sound from this place of articulation. So you can do a sakta, bal rana or bar rana, but it's the same word, same meaning, exactly same. It's just how you recite it. Both ways are acceptable. Sakt or idraj, firqin or firqin, right? What is this?
It's just making the ra heavy or the ra light.
Exactly.
Fil or fil.
Exactly. So it's the same thing, it's just way of articulation. Salasila waqifan. So when you say salasila wa aghlalan, so salasila or salasila, how?
Yeah, so you say, either you say salasil or salasila, like that. So
Yeah.
I think this
When you make waqf, when you continue or when you
Yeah.
join them.
Yeah.
Yeah, same word. Atani, when you waqf, and the example of da'fin and du'afin, and ayn of kahaf ya ayn sad wa ayn sin qaf. Now, do you know this difference?
Yeah, so the difference is that all of these letters that the Quran starts with, alif, lam, mim, the ones which are the longer ones, which are 6, the only difference is the ayn is the only one, there's 2 opinions, either you make it 6 or 4 seconds long.
Exactly. So you say, do you want to say it, my brother, with kafa, this one? Take a breath.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Kaf ha ya ayn sad. So that was 4. Do you want me to do 6?
Yeah. Take a breath.
Kaf ha ya ayn sad. So that was 6.
MashaAllah, subhanAllah, beautiful recitation, my brother. So this is the level of differences that we speak about between the Hafs reading.
Yeah.
So the polemics that we hear is really astounding. It's really unbelievable. It's a joke. I mean, it befits a comedian
Yeah.
to come up with this kind of examples and proofs and evidence that Hafs are different. So we have given a detailed example of breakdown between the Hafs readings and what they amount to into the differences. So when a Muslim claims that the Quran in the reading of Hafs has been preserved even to the dot, even to the letter, even to the sound, now perhaps you can appreciate, even to the sound.
Yeah.
Of course, dots here, there's no dot differences, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Of course,
This is common knowledge
Yeah.
in some places.
yeah, but unfortunately people don't know this. Our Muslims, they get, brothers and sisters, sometimes they get very excited saying, oh look, they're coming up with all these things, how do we respond?
Yeah.
Well, brothers and sisters, take the initiative.
Study of
Instead of watching those videos and getting confused because they have really no substance to them, go and study and learn the Quran. Learn to recite it beautifully as you have, my brother, you have been doing. And, perfect your recitation. Subhanallah, when you recite the Quran in this tajweed, it really humbles you. It really gives you tranquility in your heart, and let alone that you reciting the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ taught. No wonder this affects the heart. And no wonder when we talk about with them that, okay, let's read them, they don't want us to read. Why? Because it's going to affect them. That you will be reading it identically, of course, apart from this example of da'f and du'af, vocalization differences, and it will affect them in their hearing that, okay, this is so the Quran being recited exactly the same throughout the world, whether you're in Morocco, whether you're in China or Indonesia, Pakistan or India or in Egypt or in Saudi Arabia. Subhanallah, this is what we mean by preservation of the Quran, because Allah guaranteed Himself that He will take care of the preservation. Now, I want to also highlight a few examples here before we close this. Barakallah fi, my brother, to help me and assist me in this. This is the first time we met, alhamdulillah, but that we talked about a lot of things which are beneficial that I learned from you.
I will learn from you.
And we will learn from each other. That in the debate, just to show you the level of polemics, you know how they're saying, bringing up this. When in the debate, brother, are you okay with your, right? When I challenge them to give them the differences of the Quran between the 26 Qurans, difference between different chapters and different verses, right? They won't give any examples. So instead of that, you know what they gave? They gave an example of alif, ba, ta, sa. Yeah, you can put it down now. Jazakallah khairan. Bismillah. Like ba and ta, tha, and dal and zal. And guess what? So you had the dal and zal, the sheet they were showing, and at the back, she had the English writing here. Oh, this particular laminated sheet. At the other side is dal and dal. They don't even know even the letters of the alphabet after all these years. They haven't even bothered to learn. So they don't